Ready?
Hey guys, Infidel 1258 here. Tonight I'm hanging out with a special guest. Rick on the Mountain is joining. We've had some technical difficulties, but I think we've sorted it. Rick, are you there?
I am.
Dude, thanks for joining me. This is the first time I've ever spoken to you in like audio, but we've chatted before in the live chats and through Discord and whatnot. Happy to have you, man. Thanks for coming to hang out.
It's an honor to be here. Thank you for having me.
So I think we have a few people. Let's see. And we turned on subscriber only mode. Okay. So we've got subscriber only mode today, guys, on the chat. So if you are hanging out and you want to get into the chat, you got to click the subscribe button and then be there for 5 minutes. And so I see 8888 is saying, hey, and Deus is here. Good to see you, pal. And I did see we had about 8 people, 10 current viewers at this moment. So we'll give them a few minutes to roll in here, Rick. And then I definitely want to, like I said before we went live here, I definitely want to know more about you, your story. What are you doing within blockchain? How did you come to Splinterlands? And anything else that kind of strikes you as important or exciting from that prospect?
Absolutely. I've been in blockchain since December 2020, so going on 2 years now, and been gaming since conception. So naturally, one of the first things once I found out about the broader Web3 and the possibilities within NFTs and gaming and whatnot, I immediately started looking, and Splinterlands was the first place that I found. And I started in July of last year, so been here for about 1.5 years. Started just before the SPS airdrop began.
Yeah, cool. How did that go for you? Did you play that angle, the SPS airdrop? Like you came in, were you immediately convicted that this was something special? Were you kind of testing the waters? Like how did that start look like?
I did not realize the power of DEC as far as the SPS airdrop. So I just kept putting all of my DEC into cards.
Yeah.
To build up my collection, because collection power obviously was still airdrop points. Play and win with it. So as time went on, I just kept doing that. I didn't realize how badly I was shooting myself in the foot. So by the time we got to the end of it, I only had like 1,000 SPS.
Yeah, man, that was an angle, to be honest, that I missed too. I mean,
Did I lose you again?
I can hear you. Rick, can you hear me? Oh, I don't know what's going on there, guys. I heard it all, so I'm assuming you guys heard it all. The angles on SPS, loving gaming since day one, getting into blockchain July of, I think that was like right before the wildness, before SPS. That was like before the real boom. And I was just going to say to Rick that it strikes me that was something that I missed too. I definitely wasn't one of the people that felt DC was a must-have, a low peg before SPS. Like I didn't see that point opportunity. I know several of you guys did. I know several people, big people in our community did. And I've heard stories of certain people who went hard on DEC in that moment and who put together 7 figures out of SPS profits, which is wild. But that's the craziness, like whether within blockchain gaming. And this actually makes me think about something I was listening to on last night. Tails went live, and Tails was saying, don't buy pre-sales in Splinterlands. And I think it's true in most respects, like in modern Splinterlands, where we get 15 million Chaos Legion packs, we get 3 million Rift Watcher packs in a bear market. And you say, oh man, that's just too many. And we see that now. In hindsight, we see that now. But we don't, it's hard. If it's possible, it's entirely possible. In fact, it's happened in the past where pre-sales are the craziest thing, whether it's, understanding what was happening there with SPS, and SPS had a pre-sale. I think they sold that for like, I forget, like under a penny, I think. Now we couldn't have bought that. It took certain special investors to try and do that. But there are moments where if you really saw through the weeds and saw the opportunity, whether it was the DC play into SPS, millions of dollars were made by people. If you saw land as for what it was at $15 a plot, even now at $150 or $140 a plot, you're still laughing. If you saw alphas and betas for what they were, and I think Chaos Legion's not there, but in someday, I think that you'll see appreciation. But even then, the point still stands. Like I want to give kudos to Tails. The point is still kind of true about Chaos Legion and about Rift Watchers, because it's not, if you bought pre-sale Chaos Legion, you paid $24 per pack because there's a $20 voucher and a $4 pack, $24 per pack. And that was to get the Dr. Blights, and you might have, like, Dr. Blight was really expensive at first, but really the play was, if there was a play with Chaos Legion, it was buy it brand new and open them and sell the cards right away, not sit on them for a year and a half. And so, my point is it didn't work with those ones, Chaos Legion, Rift Watchers, but I think there's still a way that this could be a thing where, you know, if there is another pack, if Rebellion comes out and they overcorrect and they release 1 million packs or 2 million packs or something like that, I think there is certainly opportunities. And tying it into the SPS conversation, that DC play into SPS was one of those moments that I personally missed, but certain people gained millions or hundreds of thousands or tens of thousands of dollars because they recognized the opportunity. Rick, are you back?
I will agree and disagree on that. I mean, I was watching the plays that you were making with Chaos Legion, and I'd say that you did pretty darn well for yourself. Off of all of that buying and flipping and whatnot. And I mean, I've not been in really a position to be able to do that. I did pick up a couple of packs of Chaos Legion in the pre-sale, but I don't look at them as $24 packs because I did not buy any vouchers. I wasn't about to do that at that price. I just used the ones that I was getting, which, granted, yeah, the opportunity cost is still there. I could have sold them, but I'm more about accruing the cards, always have been. And then with Rift Watchers, I did kind of learn my lesson in that one, because I was one of those people who would have got Osher had the window been extended to 3 minutes and then didn't. And I am still rather salty about that, because when I placed my order, had I known I was too late for Usher, I would not have placed that order. I would have put that $300 into something else like a node. But not getting Usher and getting those 50 packs, like it hurt. And I wasn't about to get the refund for it anyways, because I got the packs. So, I got what I paid for, but just the fact, like, the specific reason why I got 50 packs was to get a guaranteed Osher, and now I still don't have one. Yeah. So it also kind of opened my eyes and made me look at the game in a different way. So right now I own pretty much no cards. I do rentals only. I sold almost everything into SPS. I literally listed every single card that I owned on my main account. And then after a few days, whatever hadn't sold, I took it off and I sent it over to my rental account.
Wow. Hey, how long did that process take you from liquidating cards and moving into SPS? Like that's not a days thing, is it? It's weeks, I would imagine, or was it months for that process to unfold?
No, it was literally like 2 days. As the DEC started coming in from the sales, I just turned it all into SPS and staked it. And then after a couple of days, everything that hadn't sold, I just went ahead, pulled it off the market, sent it over to my rental account. But that was actually something I was really wanting to talk to you about. Thank you so much for bringing light to the Peakmonsters rental service. I covered No Empathy stream on Splinterlands TV last night, and I've been trying to get Jarvie to come on with me, so I had him on.
Oh, awesome.
And so we got set up on the ARPA, and I actually took all of my cards off of Splex. So I'm very excited about that development and looking super forward. I should actually be whitelisted here within the next couple of hours to actually be able to set up the bot. And man, I hope that he actually starts running like a bot, like a battle bot on Peakmonsters would also be super dope.
Yeah. Peakmonsters to me is the full package. And then Jarvie and Asgarth, who's like, I think his lead developer, they're like a powerful team. And I've met them in person at Splinterfest, and they are, I've always used that set of tools, and I think between the bid buys and how that allows you to utilize your DC in a powerful way, and that system, and then also the rental stuff is brand new, but that is so amazing, and it's so much cheaper. If you're making $30 a month on rentals, $30 a month on rentals, then you need to be using Peakmonster Premium, and that's not exactly a lot of rental profits. If people like, I bet Stever, if he rents even a fraction of his deck, he'd make.
Oh no, Stever's definitely got rental profits. I actually don't have enough to make it worthwhile, but he was like, you know what? I don't even worry about it. And he just sent me 600 PKM to get me started. And then I actually signed up for the premium on my main account. And then as soon as I did, I was like, wait a minute, this isn't the account that I rent with. So I just went ahead and swapped in. I had a little bit of SPS in the liquidity pool. I popped some of that into PKM instead.
Nice.
But
and the other thing, the other thing too, though, is Rick, you might not know this, but it's not just the DC costs. Like you pay 10% if you go through Splex, but you pay $3 a month if you go through Peakmonsters. But the other huge benefit is that in order to renegotiate your prices on your rentals, on your listings, you need to use your own Hive through Splex. Meaning, if you have a big deck,
exactly, that's why it was worthwhile. I can take all that Hive power off of Rickwinds again. I'll leave a little bit on there, but I can move a lot of it back to my main account, which is gonna be very helpful. Yeah,
which is like a side topic, but almost to me is an indication of the power of. It's like, to circle back to some of the conversation you were introing yourself with, saying you were into video games from an early age, and then you got into blockchain and you saw what that was, and I think, interestingly, when I think about what Peakmonsters is doing with enabling us to use their Hive power and their resource credits to repost our cards for rental, it makes me think about the fact that early adopters to Hive blockchain and to specifically Hive, but there are other blockchains too that have something like a proof of stake element where you're going to need X amount of tokens to operate X amount of transactions per second. Game developers need to have that sort of foundation in order to thrive in this ecosystem. And there are game developers who are going to come late to that. And I think if you come late to that into a bull market, you then lack the ability to position your company in a way where you have the assets and the resource credits to then allow the transactions for either your market or your whatever the case may be. And then you look to your clients, and maybe you look to using their resource credits and whatever. But I think that's like an operational disadvantage that I think maybe pushes a Peakmonsters in a unique spot. And any other developers too. There are other apps that have been around for a while now. PeakD is another, like, it's a surface for looking at the Hive blockchain, and it's actually the same thing.
That's actually what Jarvie started with.
Yep.
Which I did not know until that discussion. And I do mess around with the Hive blog a little bit. I think it's definitely a great opportunity there. I need to be more involved with it, but just there's so many great opportunities and so little time in the day.
Yeah, man. There's so much going on between. I mean, and this is the crazy thing where Aggie said probably 5 months ago. Remember, he on one of the town halls he said something like, "When things get going, it's going to be like you're drinking from a fire hose," and it has still felt that way. I mean, even every single, some of it not good, like the layoffs was a huge thing. And now what does that mean? And how unpacking how development is going to continue, or be stunted. And I think we're going to continue. But I mean, to be totally kind of open, I'm getting a little bit sick of hearing that it's going to somehow be better. Like it's going to be we're going to get more done. That's a line they keep using. And if I had to aggro zero, I would say, I mean, I don't know that that's landing with the community. It's not landing with me. Not to say I doubt them, not to say I'm scared, just to say like, just do it. Just go ahead and do what you can do and show us. Don't talk to us about how it's going to be great, about how you're going to get it all done. That's one thing that I've said a number of times recently. And I just feel like
we're going to be more efficient with less people because we have better systems in place. It's like, yes, I understand what you're saying, but the proof is in the pudding. Mm-hmm. And I also I understand that this was a necessary thing for the company. Totally. And that, like I respect Aggie, especially when he said, did we overhire? Yes, but you gotta shoot your shot. You gotta be ready for the opportunity when the opportunity arises, because if you're not, then when it does, it's too late. And so, yes, we overhired to be ready for something that didn't materialize, and it sucks. We got to get rid of good people that we like. It's not like we're firing anybody for cause. I feel like, they did the right thing as a company, both in terms of overhiring to be ready, and then in terms of recognizing the problem and, protecting the company by making sure that they're not, laden down with more people than they can comfortably take care of. So I feel like the whole thing it's an unsavory situation. Yeah. But I don't feel like there was any actual mistakes involved. There was plans that didn't work out. And I mean, that happens to the best of us.
I totally agree. And I saw one commenter during the sort of the heat of that moment on one of my videos say something like, they should have, they're fools for not seeing this coming. And everybody knows that the black swan event of FTX should have been totally foreseeable. And I'm thinking to myself, show me your bank account. You're a multi-trillionaire, I suppose, because you've called every top and bottom, if that's your attitude. It's not it. Yeah, of course there are bad. You look at something like Tether and you think, that's probably pretty fishy. I don't think they have all of their reserves for all of the Tether that they're selling. I think it's probably the same thing as FTX, and people have thought this for a long time, and yet Tether keeps going, and FTX did it for, I guess, quite a while, really, until everything was fine until Binance went for the throat, and Binance CZ came out and said, we're not sure about this. We're going to sell these billions of dollars worth of FTT or whatever it was called. And then everyone was like, what do you mean you're not sure about this? And then it caused a bank run, which exposed their lack of reserves. But what was my point? Just that it was that all of that was a black swan. And you could look at the market and say, yeah, you should be prepared for bear markets. You should recognize that there's hazards. Fair. But to say they should have known not to hire 10 or 20 of those people, or even the 45% that they had to lay off, they had lots of huge aims and targets, and there's lots of reason to believe. Well, I don't want to get into justifying their choices, but I guess I would just boil it down to saying it isn't really, in my mind, fair to point finger and say they should have seen all of this coming, because hindsight is 2020, and I think they've navigated it both aggressively and yet now in this moment conservatively, which is, I think that's what smart businessmen are going to be doing.
Exactly. And in all honesty, even on the conservative side, they were still aggressive, 45%. That's a big number, but that's the right way to go about it. Cut deep, and that way you only have to cut once. Because if they did, 10%, then it'd be another 10% next month, then it'd be another 10% next month. And then it's like, well, now you've got all of your employees looking over their shoulder in constant fear. This way, 45%, yes, we lost good people. Yes, it's going to hurt the team. Yes, there's, a lot of, kind of negative connotation towards that. But at the same time, it's like now everyone who's still there, they are going to be more productive. They're super happy to still have their job. And so is it going to be more productive than 100% would have been? No, probably not. But is it going to be more productive than that 55% of that 100% probably would have been? I'd say that's a pretty safe bet.
Yeah.
So it's more than the sum of the parts.
Yeah.
But still, it's not going to be more than what it was.
Yeah.
And stop trying to tell us that, because that's not how it works, Aggie. And we all kind of know that as well.
Even though, and maybe this is my last thing on that one is just really, I agree, and that's my point too. But I think I would say I've worked for big companies in my past, and man, there is a lot of I'm hesitant to use that word because I don't want to like imply that the people who got let go deserved it. I don't know that at all. In fact, I doubt that. I believe they're all very talented, but my mind goes to big companies I worked for, or companies that grew really rapidly and then decided they needed to pull back in some ways. And you do find that there were 2 or 3 people doing kind of one job, and it's not the workers' fault. It's the rapid growth, and then the turmoil of, okay, well, how do we maximize efficiency? And so it is true, maximizing efficiency doesn't necessarily require the same amount of people. So there's some truth in the point, but I think if Aggie's listening, yeah, man, I don't know that that's landing the way that you want. I think just like you said earlier, Rick, the proof's in the pudding. Like, guys, just get to it. Show us what you can do. Show us the efficiency. Stop telling us about your efficiency. And before we go any further, I want to reintroduce you because there's some people who are asking who's with me today. Guys, this is Rick on the Mountain. And Rick is a community member, supports the YouTube channel, but also does Splinterlands TV. Let's talk about that for a minute here, Rick. You host one of the channels, right? What time? And then you said you were on last night for somebody else?
Yeah. So I do a lot of covering for other people. But my own time, I'm Eastern time zone. So Monday morning from 2 to 4 a.m. and then Saturday morning from 8 to 10 a.m., both Eastern time. And then on my own channel, I am midnight until 2 a.m. Every night except for Friday night. So technically Saturday morning, starting at midnight and going until 2 a.m. Monday night, obviously, I cut it a little bit early so I can switch over to Splinterlands TV. But the other nights, 2 a.m. is also a lie because it's usually 3:30, 4 o'clock, sometimes 7.
There's some great questions out in the chat, and we should say hello to some people. Agar Prime's out there today. Yuki joined us. Matthew, one of my good old buddies from a while back. D Tough Stuff's here. Eli, Gathering the Magic. Stever's out there. I saw Butters earlier. And a bunch of other YouTube member supporters, guys. Thanks for coming and hang out tonight or this afternoon. This morning, I guess, for me, probably all over the world for some of you. But Stever dropped so many good questions, actually.
I see that question from Stever. Do you still feel SPS can be $1 or more in the next bull run? I don't want to say about the next bull run, but I still believe in SPS as a $10 coin. That's why I'm so happy I've got more than 12,000 now.
Yeah, dude. I really do. I really do believe that it can be $1. I think... Oh man, when does that happen? There are so many kind of confounding factors, like things that complicate the conversation. And part of it is the DEC stuff, because DEC is necessary and needed, and they're trying to create ways where it's even more needed. And it's possible that in those efforts, they would create like so much sync. They haven't done this, but it's possible they would create so much desirable sync and for DC that we actually see an erasure of the DC that we have, the liquidity that's out there. If that supply disappeared, and that might be a next bull run type moment, but I think, in fact, when that supply disappears, because I do think that's inevitable. I just don't know that it might be next. It might be next year. It might be next 4 years. But when the next bull run happens, I think that happens, because I do expect, And see, I already have to start digressing into like player adoption during a bull run, and but I didn't even finish my DEC point, and that's the thing I'm trying to say. There's confounding factors, but if DEC gets to a place where there's not enough supply, then you start seeing burning SPS, and I think that's a huge factor towards seeing the dollar SPS. Plus, the FOMO of a next bull run is just irrelevant anyways. Like there's not logic in FOMO. There's not fundamentals in FOMO. There's just a moment of excitement and exuberance that comes out of a number of different variables, and part of it might be DC drying up, or part of it might be new player adoption in a bull cycle where people are exploring NFT and blockchain. It might be because Splinterlands land comes out and it ends up being really revolutionary and powerful, and I've always thought it will be. If there starts being a ton of different videos that come out of from our content creation, which by the way is blowing up. There's so many new Splinterlands creators. And that starts reaching newer audiences, which then you start seeing videos like, I'm making X amount of money through this process in Splinterlands. All of that, any of those different angles, I think I just mentioned 3 different angles, could translate into what would be an SPS bull market. And I think $1 is super, like, I mean, I think that's conservative. Now, again, is it next year or 4 years from now? I don't know, but I wanted to do a video on this, Steve. I wanted to say, I've got 600,000 DEC, and I sold 3 million, or I gave away 3 million to get some Chaos Legion packs through the Christmas sale. And we could talk about that in a couple of minutes here. But I am loath to get rid of like any DEC. I'm loath to get rid of any SPS. Right now I've got 67,000 SPS, and I've been saying to myself, it's probably going to go to a penny. So it would be smart to then, if that's what you believe, Dwayne, to liquidate at 3.4 cents and then buy back at a penny. But I cannot do that. Like, first of all, 3 cents is not big enough for me to really be like, $2,200 is awesome, but it's not so much that it would be life-changing to me. And so that's not worth chasing after, firstly. But secondly, if I get that wrong and SPS just suddenly bounces at 3 cents up to 6, and we never see that number again, I would be so bitter. And so I just can't. I just refuse. I have such firm belief in it that, like, I'm staking this SPS every day. I'm not moving any more of it, despite desperation to get more Chaos Legion packs. Because I actually think, and I want you to say anything more you want on the SPS topic, Rick, and before we move to Chaos Legion, but I just quickly want to say, I actually think this Christmas buy and this opportunity to buy Chaos Legion packs now for like $1.50 or whatever it is through all the bonuses is so worth it, because I actually think with the 25,000 Chaos Legion packs being burnt a day, I actually think Chaos Legion packs, the argument for owning them got better now in that 25,000 packs burnt per day. If they end up burning 3 million packs out of the 15, as a Chaos Legion pack holder, I'm happier than if those 3 million came to market and then they end up being supply on the market to compete with my packs. But did you have anything more, Rick, on the SPS dollar or anything else to say on what I said there?
I feel like you pretty much hit a lot of the points. I feel like the flywheel is definitely something that is important for helping to keep DEC at peg. I don't feel like that needs to be the primary driver of SPS value, but I loved how you were like, well, when the FOMO hits, there's no logic in that. And it's like, wait, there's no logic in FOMO? What do you mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, obviously, like there's the things that we can, actually take into account, and then there's the things that we can't. And of course, FOMO and bull market, that's all a strong kind of part of what is going to drive things crazy. But that's not what we're actually basing anything on, because the truth of the matter is we can't predict that. You can't know really when that's going to happen. And I agreed 100% with, SPS might go down to a penny, but there is no chance whatsoever that I am willing to take the risk of selling out to try and buy back in lower. I have tried to do that before on other cryptos, and I've learned my lesson. Like, no, I will hodl and I will continue to accrue. I am not going to sell to try and get a lower price. And I've also learned my lesson on the other side of things. Like, when things start going crazy, take some profits, but don't take all of your profit because you never know how crazy it's going to go. I happily sold 100% of my Doge at 7.5 cents for over 500% profit, and then watched it go to 75 cents. Like, I missed out on so much more there. I did it again with Engine Coin. Like, I bought in at like 40 cents. I sold out between 80 cents and $1.20, and then I watched it go over $5. So take profits. Don't take all of your profits. Once you've got to the point where you've got your original investment back, then you just sell small chunks from there forward to keep getting more and more profits out of it.
Yeah, it's so hard to, it's so easy to say that now though, and then so hard to do it in the moment. I actually needed to lean on the community, and that's why you guys need to be like tied in and listen to me, my videos, hear what I have to say, but certainly don't take it as the final word. Like, you know, I Steve's here today, and I've told him this more than once, but I'm actually like super grateful because I remember watching one of his streams, like, I don't know, it was toward the kind of bull cycle, the top of Splinterlands assets. And Steve's like watching his live and he's like, yeah, I'm selling cards. It's just these prices got to come down. And I was thinking to myself, like, no way, you're selling cards? And he just went on articulating, you know, his point, and like, you know, he bought them at X value and now they're Y value, and that differential is massive. And he's like, you know, I can reinvest that value into different things. And it took like a different voice that wasn't my own, that didn't agree with me, and for me to actually kind of wrestle with it at first reluctantly, to then get me to a place where I for instance sold Kitty, which is an amazing card and I do miss it, but that was a significant financial opportunity that spoke to, you know, other opportunities, like getting me to Splinterfest. And Kitty is like 1 in 1,000. A max level Kitty is like 1 in 1,000, but a Splinterfest, the first ever Splinterfest, is a 1 of 1 type moment. And so
yeah, exactly. You can always get Kitty back. In fact, you could probably pick her back up now for a lot less than you got her for. That this could be one of those moments where, you know, because everything has been depressed a little bit, maybe you can pick her back up. I kind of underrated Kitty until just recently, because, you know, once I sold all the cards and then I switched over to Modern, and thankfully I have a Lux by way of Jim, and you know, kind of starting from scratch, building up in Modern. I was trying to go Lux only, and that was not working, getting through Bronze. And then actually live on stream, someone in my audience sent me some DEC and just said, go rent Kitty. So I was like, all right, if you're paying for it, I will go rent Kitty. And I did. And wow, life-changing. Yeah. Absolutely life-changing. And like to the point where actually yesterday, I accidentally had 2 level 3 Kitties rented. Because there were some issues with my computer, Peakmonsters, Splinterlands, Hive. I'm not sure where the issue actually happened, but somehow I ended up renting two Kitties from the same person at the same price. I only ever put 1 in my cart. So that was one of the things I talked with Jarvie about yesterday. But I do want to, if it's all right, I kind of want to redirect. There is a kind of important conversation going on in the chat that seems like there's a little bit of kind of miscommunication or maybe a misunderstanding. Richard is asking about guilds, and like if you can take the DEC out that you invested to move to a new guild. And I told him, no, you can't, just like you can't take a brick out of a house. And then he said, yes, but why would you invest in any guild significantly when you could get kicked out at any point? And I feel like that's, you know, something that kind of needs to be touched on, and people are not understanding just how valuable guilds are. And as someone who not only is running a guild, but actually kind of the inspiration for what 10 now. I'm in TNA number 5 with Jim, and I know that there's even more than that. But I feel like that's a topic that should be touched on, because obviously somebody has not fully understood the concept of just how valuable guilds are.
They man, the opportunity that exists within guilds, and most of the audience can know this, so I won't beat a dead horse for you guys, but you're not only does being in a guild give you a community of people that understand the game, and maybe you can get that from Reddit, maybe you can get that from YouTube. But this is a game of people who love this game. This is a community of people who love this game. And to be in a Discord with a group of 10, 20, 30 people, or I think for time and attention, we've got, 200 or 150 or something. And they all know and love the game. There's differing opinions. We can bounce each other ideas off of each other. That community is very valuable. And then there's the financial side once you get into guilds, you can actually participate in brawls. And when you're in a brawl, you actually earn SPS for your battling. And so it's one more way to unlock value from the cards you're already enjoying in the rank battle. Just like tournaments is another way. It's this like you can get more out of your cards than you currently are, and guilds is part of that. And then you say, well, maybe I should just join a guild and not contribute anything. Well, that's one, no guild's going to want that sort of player. And two, and they shouldn't want that sort of player, right? Like if you're not helping build the thing that they're all benefiting from, the buildings, because the buildings are giving you benefits. And so to Rick's point, can you take the brick out of the building? No, but you do take you take benefit out of the building every time, every day, every brawl that in fact, everything you do in the game, you get, look at this, with your lodge, you get 9% RP bonus, which is reward points for every rank battle, just by being in a guild. That depends on what level your lodge is. You get shop discounts, 5% off discount on certain purchases with DEC. Those are benefits that you can't take the brick out of the wall, but you can take the benefit out of the building, and you get to keep that for as long as you're in good standing within that guild. And I would hope that if you're in a guild and there's actually that first thing I said, which is community, and there's actually an understanding of you contributing and them contributing and everyone kind of working together on that, I would hope that you aren't going to get kicked for no cause. That in fact, the only way you're going to get kicked is really if you're, at least with time and attention. When we've kicked people in the past, it's been because there was a real schism. There was a real problem with the community side of it, and not from a performance and not from a, and so I don't know, Richard, maybe you've just been in the wrong guilds, or maybe you don't fully understand the financial benefit to you personally, but absolutely there is financial benefit and kind of joy, like from the community side, that you maybe are missing also.
Yeah, that's exactly the stance that I was like, you get so much out of being in a guild. It's not just the, you get more in SPS than you're putting in DEC. I actually paid 29,500 DEC to level up our arena, thinking that we had the crowns, and also thinking that I was pushing us from tier 3 into tier 4. I'm still happy that I did it, even though we had to wait one more brawl to have the crowns, and I pushed us from tier 2 into tier 3. But it's still like super effective and absolutely worth every bit that you're putting into the guild, because you're getting SPS from your brawls, you're getting additional cards from your brawls, you're getting the shop rewards, you're getting the RP rewards, and then most importantly of all, you're getting the community. And yeah, I feel like exactly what Dwayne said is correct. If you're not like getting that community and you're worried about getting kicked out, unless you really are just acting a fool, then maybe you're in the wrong guild. Maybe you should, spend some time, do some research. I'm so glad that I found TNA. because I was in, you know, a couple of other guilds beforehand, and I'm not going to name any names or anything like that, but like the first guild that I was in was pretty much dead. I remember back when I was like a week in, and I saw a gold Contessa Lament on the market for 350, and yes, $3.50 for a gold Contessa. And I asked myself, or I asked my guild, hey, I see a gold Contessa here for 350. Should I go ahead and buy it? And I didn't get a response at all for like an hour and a half. So I went ahead and I invested elsewhere. And, you know, I know had I been in TNA when that happened,
yeah,
I would have gotten that response. That response would have been a resounding yes.
Yeah.
And now I would have a gold Contessa Lament.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And there's a ton of things that you don't know until somebody is in your life to tell you what you don't know. And even me, like I've been playing the game for 4 years or whatever it is. I covered all day, every day. And I talk to people like yourself. Some of them might be here. Some of the time and attention guys like will clue me in on things that I'm oblivious to. And they're game changers, like literal game changers, like producing way more victories, far bigger win rates, increased profitability, trading opportunities. Even the YGG Christmas Chaos Legion pack sale is an example of how my community has helped me recognize something that's in front of me, like you just were alluding to with the Contessa. And I would have missed it, man. Like, but YGG is another guild, and I've never been affiliated with YGG, but those guys are amazing. Everybody I've ever met through YGG has always been inviting, welcoming, friendly, funny, everyone. And specific shout out to Dragon, kind of my OG friend who invites me on to his thing every now and then. And it's not just his thing, but there's lots of great guys over there too. But oh man, there's too many to shout out, and I don't want to forget anybody. But I'm thinking of many of you, Rogue. I'm thinking of you too, pal. But man, it's that they are doing a Chaos Legion Christmas sale, and this Christmas sale is essentially through the volume that they're acquiring, they've achieved like a whole other level of like champion level. They're calling it a champion level reward purchase pack or whatever. And it gets even better discounts than what I would have been able to attain individually or through like a few of my friends who want to put together, 20 million DC. And so again, huge opportunity, getting like roughly $1.50 packs or something like that. And only doing it because one, a time and attention guildmate pointed me in their direction, and two, I think that was Deus, but I could be wrong. And then two, there's this other guild that is kind of building great community and loving Splinterlands like Time and Attention is doing, and then welcoming in other parties who feel the same way. That's why guilds are awesome, because there's a community of people who love what you love, who get what you get, and who can instruct you in things that you don't already know. And believe me, you don't know it all.
There are two things about the Christmas deal that I don't like, and one of them is fairly minor, and the other one is rather huge.
Yep.
The fairly minor one is the fact that we still don't know even the rarity on the promo card, let alone the stats.
Don't we know that? Don't we technically know that it's probably, I mean, we don't know, but I'm pretty confident it's going to be a common.
I'm fairly confident that it's going to be a common, but that is not confirmed, is the point I was getting at. But again, that's the small one. The big one is that I'm broke and I'm not going to be able to take advantage of it anyways. Like I don't even know if I'm going to be able to get a single copy of the promo other than picking it up off the market like next month or whatnot. But I am actually glad that it is going to, provide so many more packs. I'm glad that it is probably going to drive card prices down even further for the time being, because honestly, I love the fact that the cards that are in print right now, especially the reward cards, are at the prices that they are. As much as we talk about the new player experience and whatnot, and this is something that I've actually talked with Stever about at length in another Splinterlands TV that I was covering for No Empathy. I've been covering for him a lot lately. It's awesome. But I love actually where the card prices are at right now, because that is one of the most important things for drawing new players in. And I know that the argument can be made of, well, you know, people want to come in so that they can pull that $50 or $100 card. I mean, that's still out there. Those are in packs. But for, you know, the reward cards, I feel like it's important that, you know, anything that is being literally given away for free by the game, that should be, you know, accessible for new players. And that's one of my pushbacks against the whole soulbound reward card thing. And I loved when you actually said, you know, it's a good idea to have soulbound parts of the game, but don't change the reward cards the way we have them and just make that soulbound. If you want to introduce something new as soulbound, that's awesome. But I do feel like they shouldn't just, you know, change what we already have and make that soulbound instead.
Yeah, you made a couple good points. One, the affordability of these cards right now is an opportunity for new players, whether they see that or not. And then two, if we're going to introduce something with like a new soulbound reward card, that it definitely needs to be in addition to the existing system, because this is part of the liquidity, part of the profitability available to players, reward cards that are being issued to you for your time and attention. And I think even though there's way too many of them, because these are the most kind of common cards that exist in the game. Look at this. Pelicor Mercenary currently 7.1 million total BCX. And how many are total? What's the, let's see, KioKiz.github, Pelicor Mercenary is 91% issued, guys. This is huge. Most of you have never walked through this before, but as these cards go out of print, it necessarily has a positive impact on pricing. Now, does that mean it's going to be tomorrow 5 times more or after it goes 100% done? No, of course not. These are the most common cards ever issued in the game. And so that has to be blended into the conversation, but don't think for a second that the print rate being complete is irrelevant because there's so much print. No, there is not enough when they get compiled into higher level cards for every account, let alone every future player. And do you agree or don't you agree that these cards are strong? I mean, of course they are. Many of them anyways, if not every one of them, many of them really are quite strong. And I saw a great YouTuber. Oh man, I wonder if I could quickly, no, I don't want to bring up my, I don't want to try and go searching for it, but I saw a great new YouTuber who I'd never heard of before, and I didn't write down his name, but he was doing like a best buys out there right now. And just the prices, man, it's cool to see new YouTubers covering it. It's cool to see the excitement from relatively new voices around these cards and their price points. And I do think you can't help but imagine that these go up from where they are in, is it a year? I don't know, but I'm glad I'm getting them. And yeah, I do hope we also get soulbound reward cards. And I really want that to be tied to some sort of, what's it called again? Where you have the reoccurring battle pass. I think a battle pass needs to happen because
I would be a big fan of that. Yeah.
Revenue
even
for the
as
team.
Someone who wouldn't be able to necessarily partake all the time because it's broke. But.
Same. But you know what they could do? Apex Legends does something where you buy it once, it's $20 or something like that. And then you actually, if you use it, if you play it every day of the season, which is a 90-day season, you will earn in-game rewards that allow you to renew that battle pass for the following season. But you do need to be diligent about playing the game as much as possible to hit all the goals they're putting for you. And that would be huge for two reasons. One, it would be sustainable for players with less income. And two, it would create more desire for playing in the game. Now, but it would have all kinds of sort of side, let's say, hurdles for the team, right? You would need to think through the economics of issuing a new asset that might have a real world value for free through a battle pass, like, whether it was a reward card or whether it was DC or whether it was SPS or, something altogether different. Does it have a real world value? And does that then open up the door to, bot exploitation? That's a question and a concern and maybe a hurdle. But if they can think through that well, and I think that's why soulbound reward cards associated specifically with the battle pass might be really wise. It would be this huge benefit to you, the player. You would enjoy having that card. It would help you win ranked battles more. You therefore get more financial reward out of the using the card, but not as a product of liquidating the card. And so I think, and then if there was, like I say, a mechanic where you get, like I've said, I called it Apex points because that's where I got the idea from, Apex Legends. But if we had Apex points, they're not currency really. They're just in-game tokens, and they can be spent on renewing your battle pass. And then maybe the battle pass also opens doors to certain battle pass specific tournaments, or, you know, it's cool skins that you can earn through play. But then that's the other hurdle. It's a lot of creative demand, right? You'd have to think through skins and new cards, and the team would have to have the, I guess, capacity to take on that role.
I agree, and I feel like a good way to kind of tackle that would also be, you know, I think that Battle Pass locked behind KYC would be okay. There is a problem with the current KYC system that they're using. It is actually brought to my attention in another stream that a couple of my viewers, who I'm sure are also your viewers, actually have KYC multiple accounts, which I feel like it should be one ID, one account. And then obviously, you know, bot farms are still going to have potential workarounds for that because you can get your friends, family, whatever, but you're not going to be able to KYC 10,000 accounts. You know, yeah, maybe you can do 3, 4, 5, a dozen, maybe even 100 at the outset. Unless we're talking about bot farms that are also identity thieves. But I think that would be, I do support more of the game having a KYC optional component to it. Like, obviously, you got to keep ranked play, and most tournaments and brawls and whatnot, it can't really, I don't support KYC for that. But I do feel like a KYC optional for more things would actually really help the state of the game.
You know what? I think that's great stuff, Rick. I super agree around the KYC stuff. Like, I actually am super anti KYC. I'm like a libertarian. I'm super small government. I hate that government or corporations get in the way and they want to like tell you how to build your house, or like, you know, how to run your business, or whatever the case may be. And I hate when, you know, games are clawing back my email and trying to collect as much on me as possible. I hate all that. But I think, you know, at the end of the day, it's one of the paths to kind of resolving some of the most significant issues around our game. And I think we are currently building Splinterlands to appeal, and Agrid has said this, primarily to blockchain enthusiasts first. Agrid has said that's our primary, our low-hanging fruit, he calls it. And I think he's 100% right. People who love blockchain, who get blockchain, who understand and already own blockchain, you know, Bitcoin, Ethereum, they're the ones that are most likely to take a bite of Splinterlands assets. And we do want to continue to appeal to them. But we can't only appeal to them. And to some extent, when we are super hard anti KYC, what we are doing, in my mind, is creating a thing where we're saying to real, you know, Bitcoin, you know, enthusiasts, guys who are like firmly anti-government, maybe they're libertarian like me, we're saying we're not going to be like them, like, you come be with us, and that's going to appeal to that small group. But we actually, as Splinterlands, a video game, want to appeal to a way wider audience. Video gamers.
I 100% agree.
Yeah.
Like, I went crypto first and then found Splinterlands, and yeah, that is the low-hanging fruit. But the problem is that we cannot grow on low-hanging fruit. We need to be up in the tree, working for new players. Because we already have a lot of the low-hanging fruit. You know, we've already kind of plucked a lot of that dry, and in order to continue to grow, we need to stretch. And in order to stretch, we need to make things fair. And I don't think that it is possible nor feasible to actually get rid of the bots. But it is absolutely possible, and probably the best thing for the game, to give humans an advantage over the bots
Mm-hmm.
because the bots already have an advantage. It's called algorithmic play.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I'm with you. And I think make it optional and then make certain things available to me that make me question whether I really want to. Like for instance, tournaments that are KYC is a start. They're already doing that. And I think that's a good start. It's like the other day I KYC'd my account and for the longest time I was like, no way, the KYC get lost. But it was because I wanted to be able to buy SPS, I think, using their in-game thing, and you got a KYC. So I didn't buy any, but I was like, you know what, I'm gonna, like, the day is gonna come. Maybe it'll be next month, maybe it'll be the month after, but I'm gonna be dollar cost averaging into more. I want to have that direct outlet, and so I did it. And so give me reasons to don't make it mandatory, but give me reasons to do that, and then give me benefits from doing it, like tournaments or whatever. Or for instance, battle pass, like we mentioned a minute ago, maybe that needs to be KYC'd so no bot farms are just running this thing and somehow gimmicking it in a way we can't yet see. But I really think that battle pass is an interesting play. I think it would provide additional and ongoing revenue to the team. It would provide unique value to the player. It could be super sustainable and invite everybody from, like, it would create new value for playing the game at every level, and not just that, but actually create a reason for you to be here even longer, which is something the team totally wants. And I want to share with you guys on this topic. I didn't even tell Rick this before we went, but I was talking with hang on, let me see if I got it here. Do I have it? I was talking to the man, the myth, the legend himself, Mr. Weirdbeard, and he gave me some peeks at some stuff that are proposals, future proposals, and I'm not going to get into all of them. He said I specifically could talk about them, but I don't want to get into all of them because they each almost deserve their own video, and understanding and unpacking the nuance of each. But one of them specifically is the battle pass conversation, so they are taking this seriously.
Good.
And Rick, maybe we take a minute and we just read this, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on what this is kind of there. And hear me, guys, this is not final. This is not a proposal that's ready to come out. This is behind the scenes peek of what they're thinking through to imagine what a battle pass might look like. And I like what I'm seeing, but Rick, let's read it and let's see what you think.
I'm all ears, and y'all, this is why you listen to Dwayne. He's the only one that's gonna have stuff like this.
Thanks, man. Yeah, this feels like a real sneak peek. I'm glad that we got it. He goes, okay, so Battle Pass Edition. A Battle Pass is a standard fare in most AAA titles and would allow the company to build a consistent subscription purchase. Totally. Something currently missing from the products offered by the company. Yep. The Battle Pass would create a reason for players to engage and re-engage with the game on a more frequent basis, 100%, and challenge players to interact with parts of the game that they normally may avoid. Earned rewards would be geared towards non-monetary rewards and could have add-ons. And he goes, and there's more here. Pros: creates a new revenue product, consistent purchase from players, allows players to burn DEC to upgrade. That's cool. Allow players to burn DEC to upgrade. So it's like one more mechanic for getting rid of DEC to get your battle pass. Releases on consistent basis, creates FOMO for players within the items, and able to monetize on mobile platform. I'm not sure what that means exactly, but this is one of the main concerns that I saw. May be open to abuse by bots. You'd really need to navigate that economy in a way that it wasn't somehow and that's the KYC side for me. That's the bring in the KYC. And there's a couple more things at the bottom that I thought were super cool. Specifically, he says items that could be included: soul-bound reward cards. And I think that's a real winning formula. Tournament free pass entries. So you get like a free pass on certain key tournaments that are Battle Pass related, that only Battle Pass players can participate in. Maybe there's cool prizes that Splinterlands puts up. Maybe it's Roonies because they have a few. Maybe it's, beta packs that I know Splinterlands team is still sitting on. DEC, SPS, in-game wallpapers, skins, titles, how that'd be awesome. ECR bonuses. And so there's just a ton of interesting things here. And this is just kind of the beginning. This is just the thinking through. It's just, Weirdbeard came to me and he said, like, what do you think about this? And among these other proposals too. And this one was one that struck me as one of the most important out of the 11 that were sent. This one to me struck me as super important because one, I actually think it would help for all the reasons I've already articulated, but two, I actually think our community would largely be behind this. And I can't wait to see what the comments say. Rick, I want to hear what you say, but I definitely want to reiterate that I believe, based on sentiment I've seen on my previous video where I talked about this battle pass idea, it seems to me that most people that follow me think this would be a good idea. And maybe that's not 100% reflective of our entire Splinterlands audience, but man, I think if even a good amount of people got on board with this, I think this could be a real win in a bear market for our team and the game we love. Rick, what do you think?
It's not reflective of the entire Splinterlands audience because nothing will be, because any group of people is always going to have outliers that disagree. But I would say that out of everything that you just said, it is 99.5% perfect.
Yeah.
The only thing I would not want to see come out of the battle pass would be DEC rewards.
Yeah.
Because we've just worked so hard
Yeah.
to stop any new DEC coming out. I don't want to see that coming from a battle pass either, but everything else, including, you know, buying it with DEC, burning that DEC, and then having the ability to burn additional DEC for some kind of upgrade, is beautiful. The battle pass only tournaments would be awesome and would actually get me back into playing tournaments, because I kind of quit playing tournaments because they're not a financial opportunity. They are a hole in the ground for me. They're a boat. A boat is not an investment. It is a hole in the water that sucks money. And like, there was one season where I spent 10,000 DEC and 300 SPS on tournaments, and I got 7 SPS from tournaments. So like, I have kind of quit playing tournaments because I suck at them.
Yeah. Yeah.
But if it was part of a battle pass, like if I don't have to pay to get in, if I can't lose by joining, like I still do some, like when it's 1 DEC to enter and, you know, I can get SPS out of it or whatnot, that like I haven't completely quit, but it's not at all a priority for me.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like a battle pass tournament would definitely get also, you know, more people who really aren't into tournaments for the same reason. It would draw more eyes. And, you know, also another thing that Weirdbeard has been, you know, working on and talking about forever that I just want to throw my support 100% behind is give us draft mode, Aggie. That will get me into tournaments when I can walk away with cards regardless of what happens. Like draft is 100% that something that we need.
Tell me more about what that means to you. Like, I don't fully understand the draft mode. Like, what is assume the audience doesn't know what that is, and talk to me about it.
Okay, so I don't know exactly how it would work for Splinterlands, especially with the whole summoner aspect of things. So there would definitely have to be some kind of a way to figure that aspect out. But in Magic, draft mode is basically everybody sits down at the table and they've got 3 packs. Everybody opens 1 pack, takes a card from it, passes the rest of the pack to the left. And then the person to their right passes them the pack. They take 1 card from that diminished stack and then pass it. And you keep going all the way around until every card from that pack has been taken. And then you open the next pack and you take 1 card from it and you pass it to the right. And it keeps going around the circle until that pack is gone. Then you open the 3rd pack, you take a card from it, you pass it to the left. Cool. And then you build your deck out of those cards that you have drafted.
That's fun.
So those are the only cards that are allowed to be played. But then regardless of what happens in the tournament, if you do well, you win prizes. If you don't, you don't. But you leave with the cards that you opened.
Cool, man. That's really, really neat. Yeah, no, see, this is an idea that I've heard about, and I don't properly understand it, to be honest with you. That sounds like fun. I mean, wouldn't it be, I would assume though, it would almost have to be expensive because you'd have to put in the money that justified the card ownership or the pack purchases so that you weren't just coming into a tournament for, let's say, 1 SPS and then walking away with 50 new cards.
Oh yeah, no. I mean, your entries for draft would typically consist of the price of the packs plus a little bit that's going to go towards prizes. So, whereas a normal Friday Night Magic would be like a $5 entry, a draft would typically be a $15 entry. So, yes, they would be a tournament that would have a higher cost of entry, but it's also going to be something where no matter what, you are leaving with what you paid for.
I like this idea. I just want to tackle some questions and comments around the battle pass idea, because a few comments have come through though. He goes,
I see the chat blowing up.
Yeah. Bobby goes, battle pass with actual value is good. Battle pass just cuz is bad. Yeah, for sure. You'd have to navigate that, right? Or I guess, Bobby, I would push back though too, and you could say if it had no value, you could argue, oh, I'm just gonna pass. I'm gonna pass on it. Like if it wasn't good for you, you just walk away from it. And then Paul says, are players going to complain that they have to dish out more cash for a battle pass? I think some would, and but I wonder. Like I said earlier, first it could have if it was something like how Apex Legends works, you buy it once for $20 or whatever it is. Maybe it's 30, I forget now. But you buy it once, and if you use it, if you actually play the game diligently every day, with Apex Legends, I have to play probably an hour a day to beat all of my dailies. And if I beat all my dailies, I can focus on my weeklies, because there's daily quests, there's weekly quests. If you're putting in time to achieve those quests and you're playing at a half decent level, I'm not good, but if you're playing at a half decent level, you're going to hit your targets within a half an hour. And then if you do that every day for 90 days, which is the window of the battle pass, you find that you receive in-game currency that actually pays for your next month for free. And so it's this thing where your time and attention is being rewarded. Yes, you have to put the one-time purchase in to get it there, but then it's reoccurring so long as you put in the time and attention. So maybe they would complain, but there's a possibility for making that kind of renewable. And you might say, well, then they're not going to get the financial benefit. Why would the team do that? They're not going to see the money because they're not going to see the consistent purchasing. Well, not true, because in the course of creating something like this, you create all kinds of desirable skins, all kinds of new maybe soulbound reward cards, all kinds of different things that people, I think you'd want to focus on non-monetary assets that then can be purchasable with those in-game tokens. Do you hear me? So like I can renew my battle pass with my time and attention, or you give me this juicy new skin for my favorite card, and I think to myself, oh man, that's gonna spend my money. I won't be able to renew my battle pass. Whatever. I'll buy the skin because I like it that much. And then you get some people buying the token specifically to just get the new skins and to get to renew that battle pass. So you don't have to do that. I think it was Paul, and Paul's like a big fish, but the new guy who doesn't have the $20 every 90 days doesn't have to do that. They can pass on the skin and just renew that battle pass in that way. And I think through that process, you would probably negate that criticism largely. There's more here, but Rick, did you have anything to say on that?
I mean, no, that sounds good. One thing that actually came up in the stream yesterday, felt like was a really good point is as far as like new reward cards and whatnot, like I think that the battle pass would be a great way to tackle that with, there is a single card with every battle pass that you are working towards throughout the entire period of that. And then when it switches over, then there's a new card there as well. This was actually brought up in just in relation to reward cards that, rather than seeing like, okay, we wait a year and then we get 20 new rewards cards, I would much rather see them come out, at the same overall speed, but in smaller chunks, like one a month or, two a month, however it actually works, but pull it, down to the point where, we get them slowly. And then that makes it, easier to kind of build up that one new one, rather than all of a sudden you've got 20 new cards that you're trying to build all at the same time. Mm-hmm. And I think that the battle pass kind of might be a good way to kind of integrate that as well.
Yeah, I agree with you. And actually I'm seeing a lot of comments on the comments that you raised around the pack, I forget what it's called, the draft mode. And It looks like positive feedback. I mean, GHFC draft is a gamification of pack sales. I'm not sure if he's being critical or if he's being complimentary, but to me, that's a compliment. And then there was a game mode on Magic. Maze says there was a game mode on Magic the Gathering that was longer format, league format, where everyone opened X packs and every round on Magic was a week. Everyone could add Y packs. See, all that sounds great to me, like pack burning opportunity and cool new tournament style that would probably attract a certain Magic the Gathering audience. And by the way, guys, this is one of the possible proposals. I haven't like formulated my thoughts so well on this one, but I like that you guys, the community, have like draft mode tournaments. Proposal number one. Draft mode tournaments have been the most requested feature when reaching out to Magic the Gathering or Hearthstone players. I feel like I need to say, can I get an amen out there on that one from what I'm hearing?
Amen.
Draft mode tournaments would see a large increase in the amount of packs sold over a longer period of time without needing to organize the packs through a sale. Draft mode would also create a new way to onboard new players. If they don't have a collection, they can jump straight in by playing in draft mode. That's true, man. Because like you're saying, you just jump in. You don't have any cards. I'm joining the tournament. I'm buying the 5 packs required, and then I'm getting the cards that are in there. And he talked to me. I think there's what if you don't get a summoner? There's possible solutions that we need to look at here. But pros: increases pack sale, new game modes get players excited. I think that's true. Easy to onboard new players with no cards. Yep, I think that it sounds like I'm learning. Like as I hear you talk about it, Rick, that really resonates with me. Heavily requested by the community. Level playing field, different experience type. Cons: heavy developer resources needed. Must account for bot involvement. Yeah, requires resources to enter. Yeah.
And that's why also like that bot involvement, that's why just like the ghost card tournaments are locked behind KYC, draft should also be locked behind KYC. I'm 100% in favor of that because it needs to be something for the actual players. But yeah, it does address so many of the problems that we have that the team is working so hard to figure out answers for.
Yeah.
It helps greatly with new player experience. We don't have to burn 3 million Chaos Legion packs. Put them into draft mode. They will sell. And yeah, I mean, the game is similar enough to Magic that a lot of Magic players, if they gave it a chance, would fall in love with it. But it's dissimilar enough to Magic that we're not actually drawing the Magic community yet. And like any Magic player who is here absolutely loves it, but we don't really have that appeal. And I think that another one, like this is a free advertising strategy for you, Aggroed. Modo is a problem. MTG Online is a problem because there are literally people that have just lost their entire collection that they have spent tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars on because Magic cards are freaking expensive. And when you're playing online, you don't own any of it. It is all tied to that system. And therefore, if you lose access or if you got banned, you have nothing to show for it. And that is exactly why I never played Magic online. And when I found Splinterlands, it was like, okay, it's not quite Magic, but it's, paper Magic only online because I own my assets. And even if something happens with the game, I can still sell my assets.
Cool.
And that is exactly what the difference is, because I haven't actually played a game of Magic in years.
Yeah.
Because I just don't have the time to get out on a Friday night to FNM, and since I moved away from Colorado, I really don't have any Magic friends. And to the point where I actually just sold my entire collection. I still have all my decks, and I have like my collection of Hydras, my collection of Lightning Bolts, but I sold, the greater part of my collection, over 10,000 cards. And the amount that I got for it was pitiful because I, been trying to sell to other collectors, didn't have any luck with that, ended up having to take it to a store to pay some bills. So I got a pitiful amount out of it, but still I was able to sell the cards.
Yeah.
And I think that is something that, paper Magic players are going to be looking for, because I know a lot of people that love Magic but will not play it online because you have to buy your cards and yet you don't own them.
Yeah. I want to keep talking about the draft mode here. I want to read a little bit more here on the format styles I was reading. It's pretty much exactly what you said, but I want to say it out loud from how they're articulating it, so those who would be excited can hear the eye through which they're framing it. And then maybe clearly they're hearing you guys. If this is you asking for this stuff, like, continue to ask for it. Reach out to Weirdbeard. Tell him how much you continue to tell him. He's hearing you. And so... but before I say anything more on it, I definitely want to say, I think last time I checked, I think we might have 50 concurrent viewers, and I think we got 24 likes. So guys, do me a favor, take a moment, hit the like button. It's the one way that people are going to receive it, especially when we do live. Like, I do the lives at this time. I do them, a totally different time. People aren't aware that I'm even live maybe. So hit the like, help people reach this audience and this game. Thank you guys. But let me see. I also wanted to say about that. Like I say, I just want to read their format styles. He goes, format 1, you pay an entry fee equivalent to X number of packs. Players then open said packs and are shown the cards that they have unpacked. Players are given a ghost card maximum level version of a card to compete in the tournament with. So max level version of that one you just looked at. Like you got a Obsidian. Okay, you got a max level Obsidian for this tournament we're about to enter. Now you don't get to keep the max level. You're only going to get that one BCX, but you actually are going to be able to enjoy for the tournament style that max copy. And players are given a ghost card with max level version of the card to compete in the tournament with. Players keep one BCX version of the card they unpacked after the tournament concludes. That's really cool. I've never understood that. I'm super interested by that. And format 2, players pay an entry fee equivalent to X packs. Players then have all of the cards from the cumulative pack opening added to a large pile, allowing players to take turns choosing. That sounds super fun to me. That's like, I used to play draft pools like for NHL hockey when I was a kid, and you go first, I go second. Who are you going to pick in the first round? I hope he doesn't pick my favorite guy. And then if you don't, it's this exciting moment. Or if you steal him from me, it's this, you're like, no, I wanted that one. And now you're taking your second, you're scrambling because it's probably only 30 seconds or a minute to make your pick. That sounds like a ton of intense fun. And then it says, after you build your team, a single card at a time from the overall set of cards to they will fight the tournament, and players keep the cards they drafted after the tournament concludes. That sounds really fun.
I like both of those versions, and I think I have a solution to the summoner thing, to be honest, because there is a thing in Magic drafting called money drafting, and it's actually happened, and it's played out. It was called Goyf Gate. It played out on the world stage on the Pro Tour. But sometimes you take a card that is the best card choice for your deck. Sometimes you take a card because it's worth more than other cards, and obviously summoners do tend to be worth more than other cards. So you could do a draft mode where like you're entering at, say, gold level, and so everybody has whatever for the set, because obviously you're going to be typically drafting from a single set. So say we're drafting Chaos Legion, you've got all of the rare Chaos Legion summoners available at max gold level, and then like as ghost cards. So if you draft a summoner, you can take it and have that copy of the summoner to own, but it's not actually going to help your deck. Or you can pass the summoner on to somebody else and take the card that actually is going to help your deck. Mm-hmm. And one of the things with Magic drafting specifically is, it's got a very similar layout to you've got the 5 colors. And so you kind of want to pick 1 or 2 that you're drafting in and ignore the rest. So, sometimes you get a money card or a legendary or a mythic in Magic that is, off color, but it's a really strong card. And so sometimes you take that, or sometimes you if I'm in red, you take the lightning bolt instead, even though it's not really worth money or anything like that. It's what's going to help you win the prize.
Mm-hmm.
So it does kind of put in that level of a decision making as well.
Mm-hmm.
I'd never even thought about like the sports style drafting where you put it all into a pool and then take that. Sounds absolutely insanely fun to me.
Yeah.
And it does feel like that one would be a little bit more difficult for someone who is newer to the game to get into, but I would absolutely support like both of those. Like there's no reason why we couldn't have both. Obviously that would be, you know, more developer resources, and so I wouldn't expect them both to come out at the same time, but you could work on one and then that's going to make the other one that much easier as well. And obviously it is going to take some developer time, so I'm not expecting it tomorrow or anything like that, but it's I don't feel like it would be that much. We already have ghost card tournaments, we already have tournaments, so I feel like most of the infrastructure is in place. It would require some tweaking and some new coding, but I feel like it you know, would not be kind of on the level of, you know, land. It's not going to be that complicated, so I feel like they could definitely do a little bit. It could happen within the first couple of months of the year.
Yeah, man. I don't see how that would be. That was one of the cons that Weirdbeard suggested, was like the high kind of developer requirement or the workload. I'm not sure I see it. Like, it sounds like a tournament where, yeah, you know what? It's probably a whole technical thing I'm blind to, but you would need to create a way where when a pack's opened, the cards are held in escrow and they're visibly seen on a UI user interface, and then all participants in the tournament are randomly positioned around a table. Rick's first, Dwayne's second, Jarvis third, Gathering the Magic's fourth, etc. And we draft in order around the table. All of that being automated and trustworthy, without sort of like, you know, cheats or hacks or whatever. And then the cards are being selected, and when it's selected, it's now on my account permanently. So there is technical stuff there that's going on, but it sounds so easy. Maybe it's super hard, but I think I'm so glad you talked about these things, because I actually, like I said, he shared that with me, and to be honest, it went over my head. Like, I'm like, oh yeah, what is, like, I've heard people talk about this, I don't really get it. Like, what's the deal? Like, so what? Why would I want to pay $50 to join a tournament and get those cards? I totally get it now, because it's like that even playing field, everyone being at that ground level, and you coming in and really being able to enjoy the skill opportunity, not the money opportunity of play. Plus, it's actually this new skill where not just how well do you play with these cards that you've got through luck, a little bit through luck,
but how well do you choose the cards to play with?
Yes.
And that's always been my favorite part of Magic, because like, and the same thing happens in Splinterland. A lot of times in Magic, you know, there's the RNG aspect of it. Like, you might just lose because you draw 7 lands in a row and your opponent does not. And that was also the biggest thing I hated, was with Magic, like, out of every 3-game round, there would be at least one game where one person does not get to play. And I hate winning against an opponent that doesn't get to play almost as much as I hate losing because I don't get to play anything. And Splinterlands does completely negate that just by the way the game works, because you are putting out your team and then your team does whatever your team does. So that side of things is very well taken care of, and that's one of the reasons why I'm still playing hours every single day. But with completely lost my point here.
Yeah, man. No, it's good. The I think the tournament opportunity is exciting. The draft mode is like, and like I said, I'm glad you mentioned it, because it was one of the things Weirdbeard mentioned, and it was beyond me. Like, I'd read it. He tried in a further comment to kind of give elaboration, and it just went over my head. But now, like, thinking that through and just and likening it to my hockey pools, which I've gotten so much joy out of over the years, or football pools, man, it's really fun. And the time sensitivity of how, and Hive could do that well. Well, it's Rick's turn to pick a card. These are the available cards. Which one you got? You got 30 seconds or a minute to pick it and then lock it in. Yeah, that sounds super awesome.
Oh, okay. I do remember the point that I was making. Because it does happen in Splinterlands too. A lot of times, when players are getting to play, it's just whoever's got more money in their deck just wins. It's just like, for me, when I come up against Lamacron, it's just like I have managed to win a few times, but I'm almost 0%. And it's just, the money involved. Like, if you've got all of the cards, then you're going to win most of the time against somebody who doesn't. And draft is exactly as you said, it's the equal playing field, because I was never the guy that was able to come in with the tier 1 deck with, all the perfect deck list. And believe me, those perfect deck lists exist. Like, the people who are, constantly coming in the tops of the tournaments, the people who are on the pro tour, like, they've got things down to the point where exactly how many copies of every single card are in their deck, because they've already figured that out down to a science. So we know when 2 copies of this card is better than 3. We know when 3 copies is better than 2. And so that, there is very little in terms of variation of a similar deck list when you're at that level. But if you don't have all of those cards and you try and build a similar deck, then you are always going to lose against that player who is actually running that list exactly. And when you're playing in a limited mode like draft, or also sealed is slightly different, because instead of 3 packs and then passing it around, you open 6 packs and there's no passing. You just build out of those 6 packs. Those even the playing field a lot, because you're not going to be coming up against somebody who's got 4 copies of every mythic rare or legendary. So that also is a serious factor that would come into it. Now, one of the things that I feel like is not really answered, and would kind of need some figuring out, is, there is the aspect of multiple cards. In Magic, typically when you're building a deck, you can run up to 4 of any card. In Limited, which is draft and sealed, you can run as many copies as you pull, but there's not really that copies aspect in Splinterlands, except for in terms of leveling up. And I don't feel like that's how you would actually want to pull it, is to where you have to level up your cards by getting multiple copies, because that's going to severely hamstring your deck. So that is one of the things that would still kind of need to figure out how we're going to work around it. But I feel like there's still a lot of opportunity there.
Yeah. I put in a poll in the chat, guys. Let us know, because I'm going to give this feedback to Weirdbeard. First of all, it seems clear to me that you guys mostly like the idea of Battle Pass. 23 people voted, 86% approval. Now I've asked which one's first, which proposal first, draft mode tournaments or Battle Pass. And I'm going to assume that but we like both of them, but let's let Weirdbird know like how much we want one or the other here. And there are other great ones too, but that I'm sure they'll come forward, but I feel like these 2 are strong candidates. And man, I really need to use the restroom here, guys. So give me a minute. Rick, I'm going to throw you a question. I want, like, we got new people here, and I saw Jarvie asking about you, Jarvie from Peak D. So, but you were just talking to him yesterday, weren't you?
Yes.
Okay, so he didn't hear your voice, or he didn't know who was on the voice, but yeah, it's Rick on the Mountain, Jarvie. And one more time, give these guys more about your background, because this is an emergency, guys. I'll be right back.
Yeah, no, go ahead. I got it. So I'm Rick on the Mountain. I've been here since July of 2021. Favorite Splinter was Earth for a long time, but now I'm really leaning towards water after I picked up Phantom of the Abyss. Draft mode is definitely the number one thing that I'm most excited to see in the future, and I think that it would definitely be game changing. and bring in a whole lot of new blood. Draft mode is also a way for good players to get free packs. It is, because if you place well in the draft mode, then you can earn enough to actually pay for it. And even if you don't, I mean, you're still getting packs at cost, and if maybe even a little under. I mean, we can see that the tournaments as they are already kind of subsidized. It is something that I feel is actually like, we are still kind of producing DEC just in terms of prizes from the tournaments. And that's something that, you know, is, we obviously still have the leaderboard issue as well, but we're still making DEC, so it is what it is. But basically, yeah, if there's already tournaments being made that the payouts are higher than what is actually being brought in terms of entry fees, I don't see it being a problem to where maybe it's, 12,000 DEC to get, or 10,000 DEC to get 3 Chaos Legion packs instead of, the 12,000 that it would actually cost you to buy them, just to get more people involved in the game. Crypto Flash, well, it wouldn't even be the winner keeps the summoners that pulled in the packs. You would have, in my honest opinion, you would have the choice of, if you open that summoner, then you have the option to take it knowing that it's not going to help your deck because you've got the Ghost Summoner, or you could pass it on and draft a card that's actually going to help you, because we know that the summoners are going to be the most valuable cards aside from, the legendaries and specific epics.
Rick,
no, it's not like a snake. It's just, so you open one pack and you pass left, and typically you're going to have 8 people at a table and there's 15 cards in a pack. So it'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then the second pack will go to the right. So it'll go 1, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2.
I'm seeing a comment that Jarvie put up twice now, Rick. He goes, back and forth, non-blind, timed draft mode. I don't know what back and forth means. Maybe you do. After seeing...
It means that rather than having a table of 8, you're actually going back and forth against your opponent.
Ah.
So maybe you're actually like doing that for like per game, rather than like drafting for the tournament and then playing games. You would actually enter the tournament and then draft per game. That is something that would potentially fit the way Splinterlands works a lot better.
Non-blind, so I can see your selections while you're picking them?
Yes and no. It'd be kind of like the more like the sports draft kind of thing. So he's saying like, all right, so say we both open 3 packs or 5, whatever, however many it is, or there's just 10 random or 20 random cards, right? And then we both pick 10 and discard 10, and we see what each other pick. And then we both pick 7 out of the 10 that we're actually playing with. But you have that information of which 10 your opponent threw away, and so kind of what they're going to be doing.
Cool. When you say throw away, they would get claimed by the end of the process, or what?
I'm not sure how that would work in terms of the card actually being owned or anything like that. From your own collection, I don't feel like that's draft mode. The entire appeal of draft mode to me is that you're not using your own collection, and you are, regardless of your performance, you are getting cards. Like, that is what draft means to me.
Yeah.
The selection process is less relevant than the fact that you are not using your own cards. You are getting new cards. Yeah. And you are playing with whatever cards you get. That is what draft means to me.
Yeah, I like that. I read Jerry's comment there too. I could see that being fun in its own right, where it's a different vibe. It's not a draft mode. It's not exactly what you've been talking about as draft mode. I like this idea of using it to appeal to the sale of packs. And I do believe there's a good amount of reason why that would be fun and enjoyable and desirable and attract attention and sell packs. So love that, full stop. But then I also kind of think I would like to be in a tournament maybe that was draft mode where cumulatively my deck and your deck are put into a pool and we're drafting from those assets. To me, that strikes me as like coming to the NHL and doing an NHL pool. I don't get to pick like just the 5 in front of me. I can pick all 7, one of any of the 700 players in the NHL as my first pick or my second pick, because my deck and your deck is going to represent the full body probably, or most of the full body of the decks available. I think that can be fun in its own way, but I like what you're saying, and I like that you push back on that, because I think that is different enough that it's almost its own idea.
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely multiple ways to kind of go at the problem. And yes, Crypto Flash, we are talking about exactly. We definitely would have to do some kind of variation of ghost summoners for draft to be able to work, because you cannot rely on pulling summoners in packs 100%. We've covered that, and it's definitely I mean, you're correct 100%.
Yeah.
But we don't want to beat that into the ground.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like what Jarvie is putting forth with the pick 10 and then 7, like that's a really cool idea. My only pushback on it is I don't want to be drafting from my collection. I want to be drafting from new cards, and that way you are taking something home regardless.
Mm-hmm. There's one more idea I want to move on to here, Rick, and this will probably be the last thing we tackle today, guys. I've got a lunch at noon, and I definitely don't want to be late for that. But so 40 minutes from now, and I think I'm going to wrap in, say, 15 to 20, roughly, Rick. But the last topic I'm hoping to get into is around something that I've been thinking. I was talking last night with Tails about. He was live on his channel to the public, and that was a pleasure to be there. If he hears this, he is a gentleman and a scholar, and he's one of those voices that I appreciate in this space. And so keep doing what you do, Tails. And he was talking about, I asked him, I forget how it came up, but we started talking about Chaos Legion summoners. And I think he was talking about, Yasik, and he was talking about the white summoner, legendary summoner, Chaos. Grandmaster Wraith.
Grandmaster Wraith.
And they're so cheap. And he's talking about, like, look, you can buy Grandmaster Wraith. Look at this max level Grandmaster Wraith for $170 versus you could buy that Contested Lament you're talking about is probably $150. You know what I mean? It's like, that's ridiculous. This price is ridiculous. This card is amazing for that price. If you like this game and you like Life, this card fits so well with the Life team. And this is not exactly a sales pitch for Grandmaster Wraith. I just want to talk about the legendary summoners for Chaos Legion. And I think we have yet to see how crazy these can be. I actually believe that among the last legendary summoners we're going to see some blow away talent. Like, I think you're going to see a kitty type vibe, a Yoden, a llama type vibe. You talked about how you see llama, Scarred Llama and Kron, and you haven't beaten it. It's like there are game-changing summoners in the game right now, and Kitty, even with all the changes, is still so OP. That True Strike is so amazing. That speed, yeah.
And I will say, actually, that there is one really solid counter to Lamacron, and that is Grandmaster Wraith. Because if you end up getting to the point where they've got Kron up front and he is just going ham, but you have a creature that has armor and you have a repair, Kron does nothing.
Yeah.
Because Grandmaster Wraith gives everyone void armor, and that 5 magic damage will still get blocked by 1 armor, and you're getting armor back every single turn. So as long as you can outdamage his healing, you're good. Yeah,
man, absolutely. And so these summoners are amazing, and they happen to be really inexpensive right now. I really believe these prices are very reasonable for the power you're receiving, the utility you're receiving. Yasik to me is part of that conversation also. I think the speed again is so important. The piercing is amazing. This is functional from an archery, from a melee perspective, more in my opinion than the magic, but I love it for melee and for archery. And I think these guys are good. I don't think that you're gonna when you see the fullness of the legendary summoners. I really believe the last two, probably the dragon in particular, because there'll be another dragon, right? There'll be, how many we got left? Let's go look at that.
We got 3 left. We got water, death. Oh wait, no, we got 4 left. We got water, death, earth, and dragon.
Yeah, and so dragon will be the last. And do we know that for sure? We know that, don't we?
We do not know that for sure.
Okay.
Actually, I would not be surprised if it's not, because Kitty was the last one from Untamed, right?
I actually forget, but I feel like that's not so. Untamed airdrop cards. But carry on with your thought. Like, what are you thinking?
Because I believe, and I mean, I could be wrong on this, but I'm fairly certain that they said that they're intentionally releasing things in a different order each time. So if Kitty wasn't the last one from Untamed, then yeah, maybe Dragon will be last this time. But I was under the impression that Kitty was the last Untamed, and therefore I would expect, if that was the case, that Dragon will not be the last one this time.
Kitty
However,
was, look at this. Kitty was, I'm looking on my screen. I don't know if you can see it. But Kitty was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, the 10th out of 14. And then there was a Goblin Fireballer from the fire team. Then there was the Lobsterdamus. Then there was Gorlodon. And then there was, I don't know what number 14 was. I think it was I forget which one it was, but it wasn't Kitty.
Was Kitty the last of the summoners, though?
Oh, hang on. Let's see. Mimosa Nightshade, Jodin, Chancius, the Liar Deep Swimmer, Llama, and Kitty. You're right. It was the last one. Yep.
So yeah, I would expect that Dragon is not going to be the last one, although it would also make sense for Dragon to still be last, because obviously they put out less Dragon summoners than anything else typically. I mean, just looking at the fact that, out of the regular Chaos Legion summoners, you've got rare, legendary.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it would make sense that it's just the 5 regular splinters that are kind of randomized, and then Dragon will be last. But from what I heard, I would not be surprised either if Dragon is not last, because they're changing up the order, because I feel like they're trying to make sure that they kind of don't give a ridiculous discrepancy to one splinter. Like if every time green got their legendary summoner first, then that means green is going to typically be easier to build a powerful deck for, because there's always going to be more of the green airdrop summoner than any other color. So they're trying to mix it up. But again, it would make sense either way as far as Dragon being last or not last, because there are always less Dragon cards.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Before I go, I want to say something more about the legendary summoners that are yet to come. And I think my point is they're going to be awesome. I think they're going to be uniquely meta defining. And I think that would be an amazing, why? Because one, that would be an amazing way to sell the last packs. Like, give us something really to be excited over. And then 2, because it's happened before where these legendary summoners have been game changing. And what was my other point? The final point on this is, if all that's true, if these last 4 summoners are going to be really meta defining and super important to Splinterlands gameplay for the next year or 2, as they continue to be, or however long continue to be in the modern format, then what that should translate into is that Chaos Legion packs, though at their all-time low in price because of this Christmas sale and whatnot, they're actually more desirable now than they ever have been. And because they're actually getting closer and closer to giving you these important cards, these legendary summoners that are going to be really important to the meta. And because they're closest that they've ever been to being done, and 25,000 are being burnt daily, which means that the cards that you thought were going to be within a window of 15 million sort of supply should be a much less supply. And so I think, strangely, with Chaos Legion packs at their lowest price ever, due to the Christmas sale, they're actually probably more desirable now than they ever have been. I love it. I love it. Sign me up.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm very excited to see, again, what prices do over the next couple of months, and very much hoping that I'll be in a position to scoop some up. Well, actually, while we've been talking, I did place a few bids on Peakmonsters on a couple of commons, trying to go max level gold, rebuild the collection.
Cool.
And pretty excited for what the future holds.
Chaos Legion, $145 on Hive Engine. And what are they doing on the marketplace? By the way, the non-card marketplace is a hit. Like, love it. And hang on, other items. I love that it's like essentially this easier access point for people who are clueless about Hive Engine, or here they are, they're in Splinterlands, they want to come get a Chaos Legion pack. It's $150. There's a slight premium because not everybody knows how to use this stuff. Not everybody wants to put their crypto into Hive Engine to facilitate that purchase.
And also, like Jim said, the fact that you can, swipe your PayPal credit card, as it were, and get credits, and then credits on the market. Like, you can't do that on Hive. You have to, onboard into Hive some other way, which, I mean, there are various ways to do it. Some are more efficient, some are less efficient, but no matter what, you are paying a fee somewhere along the line to do that. And so the ability to buy it with credits, I mean, if the prices are the same, then it's actually cheaper. So of course there's going to be a little bit of a premium, but I also love the fact that there is therefore that arbitrage opportunity to, buy it on Hive Engine, list it on the market for a little bit more, take some profit, and just, rinse and repeat.
Yeah. The only thing is you'd have to worry about fees on entering your value. Let's say if you wanted to move purchasing power into Hive Engine, you'd have to pay a deposit fee. I think if you're moving Hive in, unless you move DEC in, but then how did you get the DEC? There are maybe some ways around it, but you'd have to be cognizant of fees.
Yeah, I mean, you if it's 0 to 0, then be losing the fees, but and I'm not sure exactly where that break point is going to be, but there is going to be a break point at which it's profitable. Just like burning $1 worth of SPS to get 975 DEC is not worth it if DEC is at peg. It's only worth it if DEC is slightly above peg.
And I wanted to say this a minute ago when I saw it, but Weirdbeard's actually here. Rick, he commented earlier, no summoner in the draft mode. The view, one of the things Splinterlands is proposing is that that if you were not able to collect a summoner, you would be given a 2-mana summoner, which would be neutral in nature and have no benefit. And it'd be like it would enable you to play whatever Splinter you want, like the neutral Lux Vega. And it would just be like essentially a placeholder that would fill that requirement and satisfy that play for within the game. And maybe some people would make the strategic decision to then say, I'm going to pass on X, that summoner, even though I really want that summoner. I've built my deck and I don't have a summoner, and in front of me is a choice. I get this one card that I really want and I think would help me win more, or I get this summoner and I want a summoner, but this card, and maybe you make the call, no, I'm going to pass on the summoner because I know I'm going to be supplied with a temporary like neutral that's really non-consequential. But I didn't mention this because it wasn't in Rick's post, but he mentioned this in the Discord to me when he was asking me about this. And I think, to me, it makes me think, Rick, it makes me think that Splinterlands would be willing to maybe go down and have a conversation of having a less expensive neutral monster, not a Lux Vega, a 2-mana, no ability. And that gets my brain spinning, because I think if you got more, I think Lux Vega is amazing because of that one unique thing. And I know you didn't say that this would be for the broader market. It would just be for this filler within the tournament draft mode style. But man, I think to myself, would that undercut value, if it became marketable, if you could buy it, would that undercut value of Lux, would it be good because it would attract other players that maybe can't afford Lux? I have complicated feelings around that. But again, he didn't say that would be for the broader game, just the draft mode. Love it. And thanks for showing up.
I feel like that's actually a perfect answer, is a 2-mana neutral summoner. And then it's just, because obviously I think that you would still have leagues. So just max level for whatever league. And it could even be, common rarity. That way, you're not looking at any of the kind of exploits that come with epic rarity and whatnot. So I feel like that would be awesome. And it could even be something that was released, in game eventually. I think that doing it right now would be too close to Lux, and that would not be well received. But I feel like, they said that Lux is the first neutral summoner, not the only neutral summoner. I do believe that we will see another neutral summoner at some point. Hopefully not, immediately, but definitely on down the road. I feel like that would be a good thing to have, and one that is actually under 4 mana, so that it is literally playable in every single game. Like that, because Lux does have the one instance where you can't play her when it's Little League, but other than that, she's everywhere. If we had one that was 4 or less, then that's literally playable in every single game.
Yeah, cool.
And obviously I would say that one should not be an automatic max level like Lux. That would be something, maybe comes out of packs, or maybe as a battle pass reward or something along those lines. Or I mean, I could even see it being the common reward, like for or the promo card for Christmas. Like if they hadn't already shown us the bear and whatnot, and the fact that it's 12 mana, like I could have seen that being the promo. I'm kind of glad that they didn't, again, just because it's so close to Lux. But yeah, definitely, a few months on down the road, once Lux is no longer brand new, I could definitely see that being a thing that comes out. And maybe the first common summoner, just 2 mana, no abilities, neutral, or even 3 mana, no abilities, neutral. I think that would fit really well.
Yeah. I think that sounds cool when you give it like its own window of sort of utility. I like that.
And no, I don't think Yuki meant Old Man Bought a Summoner. Describing the image. He's because Life, Wraith, Fire. One was Life with Commander Wraith. 2 was Fire with Yasik. Number 3 is Water, Possibilis. And then Earth is Immortalis. We don't know anything about him except for that. And then I think Old Man with Dog is the picture that we have for Earth. And then number 5, Death, Astral Entity, and number 6 will be Dragon. So apparently the order has already been released, and there's a little bit of information about them from what he's saying there. I don't know where that would have came from, but
I seem to recall that being so. I wasn't certain, but yeah, that's
it sounds correct.
Yeah, Yuki knows his stuff. But yeah, man, I'm super like I think $1.50 packs is really, really, really cheap. Those cards are amazing. People are sleeping on it because they feel like it's never going to sell out. The Christmas sale is pulling prices down. But I mean, we already know we're burning packs. We already know that the cards that are in it are good. We already know we can trust that the cards that are yet to come, the new last 4 airdrops, are going to be amazing. The Dragon Summoner is going to be amazing. It's a dragon. Yeah. It's a legendary. It's going to be better than Quicks. Quicks is strong. It's the last card. I think, man, it's going to be, I just, and I'm going to personally be getting like, I don't even know. I think I'm getting like 25 of each of the airdrops or something like that from Chaos Legion. But dude, like I sold the other day, I sold a couple of my Jasics to try and get more DEC for the YGG group buy. And, it was like pulling teeth. I don't want to sell those things for $15. Like that's crazy. These prices are like, if one had fresh money right now and loved this game, the opportunity in front of you is ridiculous. Like this was another topic from very quickly, because again, got to go in about 2 to 5 minutes here. Betas. This was a conversation that I saw Tails covering. He's like, some of these cards are just being given away. Lord of Darkness is usually like high bid $30, low buy $50. Like a Lord of Darkness right now, one copy. this is a strong card, man. For 33 bucks, Hydra is like in the reasonable realm again. This card is one of the best cards in the game, especially from.
There is no card that I want more.
Yeah.
And part of that is, Hydras are, my favorite mythical creatures. I own, even after selling my entire collection of Magic, I still own almost every single Hydra that Magic has ever made because I just love Hydras. And so, yeah, when I saw Hydra for the first time, it was like, oh my God, that's amazing. I need one. And then I saw the price and it was like, oh my God, I'm not going to get one.
It's only 380 bucks for a max level copy, and like no questions asked, buy, and you got it. Like that's the crazy thing. You could do the bid buy thing and maybe be patient and get it for 250, 230, 250 kind of thing. It's crazy, man. Like these cards are game changing, and you say, well, they're not playable in modern. I only play in modern. Well, right now you're probably building a deck with Chaos Legion cards. Maybe you're using Riftwatcher. Maybe you're exclusively Riftwatcher and you're fighting in modern. Well, even those cards will eventually be outside of modern. And so the idea that you're going to just be this modern person forever, unless you're planning to just roll over and sell those cards and sell those cards and sell those cards.
I hate rotating formats. I'm definitely a wild player. I'm in modern right now. Sold everything. So, but yeah, like I am all the way wild, and in Magic I was all the way modern. I got so sick and tired of standard and having to rebuild my deck every year. I like the to just build up, and right now I feel like the only appreciable difference for most players between modern and wild is chicken and ooze, and I feel like that and the player base are my two kind of sticking points, and why I still feel like they shouldn't have made the split until Rebellion, because at that point when we lose Chaos Legion and Dice, when we lose Untamed and Dice, that would have actually made for a significant difference between the two formats, whereas right now I don't feel like there is. I agree. Also, if we did get rid of a significant portion of bots, we do not have the player base to support 12 leagues of play. We would be in a much better position for significantly losing a good number of bots if we were still only 6 leagues. So I think that is something that is actually kind of getting in the team's way a little bit.
Yeah, I totally agree. Actually, I did a video a while back talking about how I think maybe the wild format and the division thereof was not done at the right timing. But again, hindsight's always 2020. That was the, it's easy to finger point and say, man, that we missed it.
I was saying that before it happened. Yeah. But it's like, we're not ready for this split yet. I fully support the split, but we're not ready for it yet. Wait until Rebellion. But
I think that would have made a lot of sense.
Still a small voice, and I was a lot smaller then. So.
Yeah, I think that would have made a lot of sense. I didn't see it in advance, but I did, like after the fact, watching how hard it was. It became much harder to climb in rank after the division, in part because it was harder to find a really close match. And this is still a criticism I have of the game, the ranked pedal play. Due to the lack of, we have a relatively small player base, and as a result, it can be hard for the matchmaker to find somebody who's like really close to me in rank. And if I'm fighting somebody that's 300 rank points ahead of me or below me, the RNG is possible that I'm going to win or lose. And man, it's so annoying when you lose 60 or 70 or whatever rank points because somebody, takes you out. And if you were able to play them 9 times out of 10, you're going to kill them if you're able to play them like that. But of course you can't. They won that one match and they shouldn't have been fighting you anyways, but their rank, that they were the only one queuing up. So you got stuck with them. I think that's all intrinsic to the idea of having split our audience across 2 leagues in a moment when we just weren't there yet. But yeah, we'll get there.
Yeah, we absolutely will. And another talking about stream yesterday is like, the potential of adding another format in, and I do support that, but down the road, and we were talking about different formats that it could take, and I feel like a good one would be modern, wild, and classic would be everything that isn't modern.
Mm.
And that was something that actually Tails had talked about on one of his videos a while ago about, wild should just not include anything that's in modern. And I think, no, wild should be wild. You can play absolutely anything in wild.
Mm-hmm.
But I could see, a format where whatever isn't modern is legal there. I would call it classic. I would make it the third format, but we're absolutely not ready to have a third format right now.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And I really enjoyed the chat, Rick. I need to wrap it here, but I definitely want to say thank you. And I want to say shout out to some of the people in the chat here. Jarvie hanging out. Weird Beer made it today. Yuki's been blowing up the chat. Bobby's been here mostly since the beginning. Paul has been here since the beginning. Deus too. Guys, I really appreciate you. Lots of other great comments out there also. And Steve was here for the longest time. Guys, thank you so much for what you do. Gathering the Magic. Appreciate you guys. And Rick, just one more time. What is your time on Splinterlands TV? So if we want to find you specifically when you're not filling in, when am I going to be tuning in?
2 to 4 a.m. Eastern time Monday morning. 8 to 10 a.m. Eastern time Saturday morning. I would like to give a shout out to Bobby. I would like to have a conversation with you at some point in the near future. And of course, Jarvie, Dennis, Rick, everybody out there, thank you all so much for hanging. Thank you, Dwayne, for having me on. It's been a pleasure, and I look forward to doing it again sometime.
Absolutely. Guys, thanks so much for coming to hang out today. And before you leave, hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't, and